नमस्कार आयच्या या खाशेल्या शो भितर तुमकां सगळ्यांक येवकार. टुडे वी हॅव अ व्हेरी स्पेशल गेस्ट विथ अस, वन ऑफ इंडियाज renowned authors, columnist and an expert on mythology and history, Devdutt Pattanaik. Sir, welcome to the show. You're in Goa, so let me start with Goa. Goa is a very unique state with a confluence of west and east. From your perspective, how do you look at this state?
Whenever I think of Goa, I think of the Mangeshi temple, I think of Shanta Durga, I think of the churches that you can see from the coconut trees. And then you have all the stories of the Konkan coast, which are associated, like Parshuram story, Bhrigu stories, which are all, Renukama. These are all which are very located only in this area. You don't find this in the rest of India. So I think that is my idea of
Goa. There are two different cultures that have nurtured here, and that has led to a very nice communal harmony and bonhomie between all the communities. How do you relate that east and west not only surviving but thriving together?
Well, actually, if you think about Goa, it has many layers of culture. We just reduce it to two, but it is, there is the tribal culture, which is a very local tribal culture, which is unique to Goa. Then there is the local traditions, the gods which came from here. Then there is Brahminical traditions which came. Then there are Gauda Saraswat Brahmin who came here some centuries ago. There is Maratha culture, there is Kadamba culture. Then there is there are Arab cultures, then there is Portuguese culture, then there is when the independence of India takes place and then Goa becomes part of India, new culture emerges. People don't recognize this. Many people in India, the rest of India don't realize that in the last 400 years,
Goa has looked from a particular prism.
Has to be seen differently. So there are many layers of culture over here, and all of this, you can only happen because in India we have learned to appreciate diversity. See, anywhere else in the world you go, they don't understand diversity as much as Indians understand. And although we have a lot of conflict between communities, lot of tensions, it is nothing compared to what happens in the rest of the world. In other parts of the world, when a new culture comes, it wipes out the old culture. In ours, there is, some way of living together happens. And that is something which is very unique to our country. You don't find it anywhere else.
That was very interesting where you mentioned the Portuguese rule in Goa also. And one major part that came along with that colonial rule is modernization. For example, if you go look at the first printing press in Asia, that is in Goa. The first medical college in Goa. It is basically because of the influence of the Portuguese and the rule that they were having here. If you look at that aspect of modernization, we usually claim that we are very modern from 2000 years, 3000 years, and then we are giving these references of how our colonial rulers brought in these kind of institutions here. Were we really modern?
See, it depends on how you define modernity. What is modernity? And that is the question you have to ask yourself. I think modernity is a culture which allows other communities to live in harmony. When you allow mixing to take place. Traditional society doesn't like mixing to take place. It has, is hermetically sealed. It doesn't like any outsiders to come in. That's a traditional society. A modern society is which allows different communities to intermingle. And that is the question we have to ask ourselves. India has always been modern because it has always allowed intermingling of different cultures and communities. If you see how, like for example, there is Buddhism, Jainism, Hinduism, Vedism, Tantrism, Shakta Parampara, Shaiva Parampara, Vishnu Parampara, there are so many paramparas. Then there is the Arab trades, then Islam, then there is Christianity. So India has always been modern in that sense of the term. We have to be careful with these words which are being used.
Then being specific, what about the technological modernization?
See, technological modernization around the world only started in a big way about 400 or 500 years ago in Europe. So this idea of new technology, until then the whole world was agrarian. We had agrarian societies around the world. So you have first tribal society, then you have agrarian society, and then you have what is called industrialization. Industrialization is a 400-year-old phenomena. It starts in Europe 400 years ago, it starts in India 100 years ago, and in a big way only after independence.
So when we refer to those giant and fabulous astras in Mahabharata or Ramayana, They are not actually the missiles
Well,
that
unless
some
you
people proclaim to be.
well, if you find the proof,
Yeah.
then we will agree with it. Science rule is very simple. You have to give praman. You can't.
Till now, there is no praman.
When you get the praman, I will believe. Till you don't give the praman, it remains an assumption.
Your research tells you that till now it is assumption.
I haven't found it. Everybody will tell me, show it to me. The day I see it, I will agree. Until then, it is assumption. And I respect people's assumptions because science is all about keeping an open mind. It is quite possible, but I haven't found it. I haven't seen it. So, the day we find it, the 3,000 years ago, the only references to culture that we have are pot shards, which are found in the Gangetic plains, and iron arrowheads. Beyond that, we have found nothing else. 500 years before that, when you go, you find the Harappan cities, which are very geometrically very beautifully designed, but they are rather primitive. There is no beauty in those cities. There are just little clay tablets. We talk about these statues, which are so small. They are tiny, and there are beads. So you don't really find this. We forget that Harry Potter today is full of imagination.
Correct.
So imagination is always there. Poets always like to imagine.
Came up with Mahabharata, the retelling of Mahabharata. When we are going through that entire process, it's not a small process, it is Mahabharata. How much Harry Potter did you find in it, and how much only pottery you found in it?
No, see, these are stories, ancient stories. Whenever ancient stories are told, for example, when you are reading the Bible, you will have stories of the ocean parting.
Yeah.
Now, did it really happen, or is it a metaphor? Is they trying to communicate something that you had so much faith that even the ocean parted, or does it really happen? Now, that is people can argue forever. In the same way, if somebody is talking about the Prophet Muhammad traveling from earth to heaven on a strange animal called the Burak, which had wings. Now, is it real or is it metaphorical? In the same way, in Mahabharata and Ramayana, there are episodes when you have a king with 10 heads.
Correct.
Is it real or metaphorical? So, this is the question you have to ask. Humans are, human sophistication and refinement is whether you can handle a metaphor. If you can't handle a metaphor, then you don't understand literature.
But very frankly, if you see these references of somebody traveling to the heaven on a particular animal or in a Pushpak Viman or whatever we may say, these are across civilizations. From where does these common threads emerge? Is it a same civilization that got bifurcated in the course of time, or it is in every civilization the imagination was same?
Everybody has imagination.
And the same imagination?
Well, not the same imagination. For example, I see birds flying in the air. I imagine I can also fly. That's all it is. So, we are making bigger than what it is. Real power of mythology is not in these fabulous creatures. They are dealing with very fundamental issues of life. Ramayana and Mahabharata is essentially property disputes. And that is the main thing of Ramayana and Mahabharata, not whether Pushpak Viman is not important part of Mahabharata. You can remove Pushpak Viman. The real lesson in Ramayana and Mahabharata is asking fundamental questions about who shall inherit property, who is my father. So, Pandavas are asking for property, but their father, they are adopted children of Pandu.
Correct.
And Pandu himself is born of another man. So, on what basis are you claiming property? So, this is a very fundamental questions they are asking. That is the more exciting part of the Ramayana and Mahabharata, not the fact that there are demons with 10 heads. That is for children. It is like when you are performing a play, it is exciting to hear this. And that is what we have to understand when you are talking about a Ramayana or a Mahabharata, what is it really addressing? It is addressing issues of what matters to be a human being. What is special. So, for me, when I wrote the children's Ramayana, I have written Ramayana for adults and for children. And for children, it is called the girl who chose. Because if I ask you, you know the Ramayana, right? What are the 5 choices of Sita? And I asked everybody, tell me the 5 choices of Sita. They said, but Sita had choices. I said, there are 5 choices. Valmiki refers to 5 times Sita makes decisions. And Ram can do nothing about it. It is her independent decisions. In the Ramayana, Ram never makes decisions, Sita makes decisions. Now, how many people have told you this about Ramayana? We talk about modernity and feminism, but Ramayana is very clear. Sita always takes decision. Ram says, you will not go to the forest. She says, I will go to the forest. So, is that a submissive, traditional wife, or this is a woman who takes her own decisions?
I am tempted to ask this question. All your books and the genre of the book, how would you classify it? Fiction, non-fiction or semi-fiction?
Well, it is myth. Myth is neither fiction nor non-fiction. So,
But you are trying to rationalize it in every book.
but myth is rational. It is completely rational. Who said myth is not rational? See, what has happened is we are stuck in 19th century definition of these words. And we are like, for example, 19th century, I could call you a gay man. It means you are a happy man. In the 21st century, I can't call you a gay man. I'm sorry, I'm going to ask you personal questions. But,
No problem at all.
but the meaning of the word has changed. In 100 years, the word gay has a different meaning. So, in children's schools, we used to, when I was a child, I had told, when you're happy and gay, clap your hands. Today, you can't do this nursery rhyme. Parents will oppose. Why? The meaning has changed. So, the word myth 100 years ago had a different meaning. It meant false stories, irrational stories. Today, it has a different meaning. It means somebody's truth. Not everybody's truth. Somebody's truth, truth which is indifferent to rationality. It doesn't care about rational things, which means it is based on emotions, because emotions are not rational. Now, this is a very different definition of. So, fiction is nobody's truth, fact is everybody's truth, and myth is somebody's truth. So, if I believe that my savior was born of a virgin, it is my truth. Who are you to tell me not to believe in it? If I believe that God gave message to mankind through my prophet, what is your problem? If I believe my God has an elephant's head, what is your problem? And the problem today is in the world is we have a problem with other people's belief systems. So, myth is people's belief. And wherever there are people, if a group of people believe in one thing, they belong to a community. So, without a belief, there cannot be a community. So, community is based on belief, it is my truth, it is our truth. So, when I say Goa, the people of Goa, so that means people of Goa have a common belief system. It is their truth. Delhi wale alag hote hain. So, it means people of Delhi have a common belief system, it is their myth. So, Americans have myth, Europeans have myth, the Muslim world has myth, Africa has, everybody, if you are a human being, you will have a belief system. That is myth. In India, this myth, if you want to understand India's myth, you have to study Ramayana and Mahabharata. It is the most, through this you understand how Indians think.
Correct. I'm asking about the whole Indian literature scenario also. When you decided to venture into this with this kind of a very specific genre, did you expect such kind of success? Because the acceptability, considering how ferocious and fanatic we are about our mythology.
No, people who are ferocious and fanatic usually have very less knowledge. I have a lot of knowledge. The thing is, I had a lot of knowledge, I want to share it with the world. I was not interested in success, I was interested in sharing. So, I have been writing for 20 years, I have written 40 books, 800 articles. I write because I love to share my knowledge. Incidentally, in the last 10 years, there has been great success. But before that, there was 10 years when nobody knew me. But I still published about 10 books in that period. So, I have been writing books for such a long time. I write it because it gives me pleasure and I feel there's so much of knowledge that people don't.
Now, what has happened during these last 10-15 years? The entire Indian literature scenario has, it's like a renaissance of Indian literature.
Not just in India, around the world. See, around the world, what happened, Harry Potter happens, Lord of the Ring happens, Percy Jackson happens. Look at all these books. If you go to America, there are so many stories based on the Bible that is being written. Old Testament, New Testament, the 10 Commandments has been retold, Noah's Ark is being retold.
There are fictions built around it.
Yeah, even in Iran, they've made a film on the Prophet Muhammad, which is unheard of in the history of, because to use images of the Prophet is considered to be a huge blasphemous act, but still people have told these stories, which means around the world something is happening. People are asking questions. We have realized the limitations of science and rationality. They take away enchantment from your life. They take away magic from your life. They take away meaning from your life. So, you are now looking for magic, meaning, enchantment, and you want to see it in your culture, not in other people's culture. And therefore, you are going back to the roots. You are going to your stories, across the world this is happening. If you go to Iran, you will find this. You will go to Lebanon, you will find this. And this is something that we don't, it's not just in India. It's happening in China. Confucius has come back. Buddhism has come back. Taoism has come back, Japan it is happening, Indonesia it is happening. People are questioning their roots and asking to know what does it mean to be an Indonesian or a Malaysian. So it's nothing unique to India. We would like to think, this is, we think it is special to India, but it's happening around the world. And even in India, people want to understand Ramayana, Mahabharata, many more things, and Vedas are being rediscovered, but it's still at a very early stage. People don't know local traditions, like they're still stuck in some Sanskrit text. They don't realize.
I had asked this question to Amish also. If you take Shiva trilogy, or if you even take the Ramchandra series, this retelling of our mythology, in Shiva trilogy, it's completely has molded it into fiction. Is it because of the way of writing or the way of presentation that the younger generation and the new readers are catching up to it? It's not that traditional Ramayana or Mahabharata in the
No, people have done this before. This is nothing unique. Iravati Karve has done this much before. She did it in the 1940s. There is Bhairappa has done it in Kannada. T. Vasudevan Nair has done it in Malayalam. So in every language, in regional literature, this is a common trend. To this genre of mythological fiction.
Yeah, it is new in English literature.
It's new in
Indian English literature.
Indian, yeah. But it has been there in regional.
Yes.
So India is not English. English is only 10%. So we should not over glamorize English too much. But the fact is, this kind of retelling using traditional, like in Bollywood you have seen there are stories which are based on Ramayana, Mahabharata. But the thing is, mythological fiction is an old genre. Mythological analysis, very few people do even today. They are doing, academic work in mythology does not happen in India today. It's even today happening only in America and in some places in Europe. And this academic analysis question is happening in some academic institution, but not in the popular way. This, what is mythology? What is the definition of mythology? What is mythopoesis? What is mythography? How does stories change over time? In the 10th century, how was India? Like 10th century Goa, what did the stories people tell? 8th century Goa, what did people tell? What language was spoken? What was the script? We are not doing all that research. There's not enough research. Historians have done some work, and but it's locked in history department. Then it is locked in sociology department. Nobody's understanding. Like for example, I went to Gujarat.
It has not become the mass knowledge.
I go to Gujarat and I ask them, tell me what is Gujarati Ramayana, and they don't know. They know Tulsi Ramayana in Hindi. I said, do you know Tulsi Ramayana was written 500 years ago? And they are like, no, we didn't know. I said, do you know Valmiki Ramayana does not have Lakshman Rekha? They don't know. So I said, see, why do we not know? This is part of our culture. That Valmiki Ramayana is such an important part of our culture, does not have the concept of Lakshman Rekha.
Is that the reason Devdutt show happened?
Well, Devdutt show happened because Epic TV's, the head of Epic TV, Mahesh Samats, it was his idea. He said that in the evening when family is getting together, they are watching or switching on the television. Either they are watching these violent newsroom channels where everybody is shouting at each other, nobody is listening, and ghar ke andar they are bringing negative energy. He said, I want house should have positive energy. Let us, in old days people used to sit together and talk about things. He said, can we bring some modern, traditional things in a modern way? And he had heard me speak. He said, why don't we do it like this? And I said, nobody is going to be interested. I am going to be talking on Ramayana, Mahabharata. Why would anybody like? But people loved it. I am shocked. I was surprised. I didn't expect this to happen. So really it is credit to him. It was his idea. And we did it. And people loved it. They wanted to hear more of these stories. And
the most powerful medium of communication is stories.
And in India, you must understand, when people came to India, they were surprised. We were the only country where God is approached through song and dance. You sing to the gods, you dance to the gods. The gods are singing and dancing. So you have Shiva, Nataraj, you have Vishnu, Natvar. Everybody seems to be dancing. Nowhere else you will find this. You will never find other religion where gods are dancing and prophets are dancing. Here we dance, sing, musical instruments. Art is a very much part of ritual, it's part of festival, color, music. So these things nowhere else in the world you will find. It's only now, like in this festival eat this kind of food, in that festival eat that. It's all about food. For most people, festival is only food. And different and local fare. It will change in different families. And these are things that people don't realize.
Very frankly, if we have such a rich culture, such a rich history, then why was our country so prone to invasions? Why could anybody come and invade upon us?
See, invasion is part of life. We are invading now. Imagine tomorrow, so many people are settled in America. Tomorrow, the white people in America will say, you know, the Indians invaded us. The fact is, people travel. New people, some come violently, some. This is part of life, you know. When the Vedas came to India, where did they come? They didn't come directly across the subcontinent. They first came, they spread from the Sindhu river towards the Gangetic plain and slowly came to the south. It didn't happen overnight. The stories of Agastya coming from the north to the south. Do we consider that an invasion? No, we don't. So, every new people will always keep coming. The Greeks came to India, they introduced ideas. The Sakas came to India, the Pallavas came to India, the Turks came to India, the Mughals came to India, the British came to India, the Portuguese. Would we have potato in our food if Portuguese did not come? So, people keep coming. I think it is how we see history. And whom do you want to consider friend, whom do you want to consider invader is political. It is just politics, and I am very wary of political things. It is like, you know, imagine a woman will keep saying, what happened in our history that women were treated so badly by all the men in the world. I say, no, 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 we didn't want to treat you badly. He said, but hello, history of the world, around the world, women have been treated badly, homosexuals have been treated badly. So, depending on which power struggle you want to focus on, invader kya hota hai, so things keep changing.
Does it pain you when you see the use of religious symbolism in such a manner in today's politics?
See, politicians will use anything to become powerful. They will use religion, they will use caste, they will use economics. ये एक अस्त्र है. So, it is their job to be powerful. I don't think they care for religion, because I have met most politicians. I don't think they care for religion at all. You know, I have not met a single politician who is actually interested in religion.
Yeah, he's fanatic about it.
Yeah, he only wants power.
Yes.
He only, and this is just a yantra for him. So, I am not fooled by this when people say that we are fighting for religion, because I know they are lying. Because if you are genuinely interested in religion, you will be a happy person and you will spread happiness. The moment I see a person who is unhappy and is spreading unhappiness, I know he has never understood religion and he is not interested in religion. That is my definition.
In recent times, we have seen the rise of this majoritarian spirit, and you spoke about how India understands diversity. And today, we also talk about how the majoritarian spirit is taking over the entire country. Is that also a part of the process? Or is it also a part of evolution?
See,
or is it just an aberration?
See, in every family, people will always argue who got the bigger share of property. The eldest brother should get the biggest share, the smartest son should get the biggest share. No, ghar mein there are brothers fighting. Ramayana, brothers are fighting. Mahabharat, brothers are fighting. So, fighting always takes place. You are bigger, I am smaller, you have been treated badly. You know, victim, the word victim is a mythological concept. There is no, in society things happen. And so, hero, villain, victim, these are all mythological concepts. And I think we over exaggerate things. Things are continuously happening. There is push, pull, manthan, churning, challenge, conflict, coming together, breaking apart. It is always going to happen. You know, the moment women started asking equal rights and equal respect, families started breaking down. People said, but arey, family is breaking down. But hello, respect is also equally important. So, everything has a consequence. When too much of attention is given to the younger child, the elder son is going to get angry. When too much of the elder son gets angry, then the younger son suffers. So, this is the cycle of life. You know, some governments believed in appeasing minorities, then the majority started behaving badly, and this is like, you know, this keeps happening. It's like a seesaw. It will keep happening. It will never end. Never in the world it will end. You know, globalization was taking place 10 years ago. Now localization has started. Once upon a time we said, you know, we welcome people to immigrate to our countries. Now all visas are shut down. All countries are shutting down. They don't want anybody to come in. Previously we said we should mingle and mix with each other. Now we are saying we should stay pure. You know, Harry Potter also talks about it. Muggles, who are ordinary people and witches, and there should be no mixing of blood. Nazis spoke like that. So this is there. This will never end. This is always pure blood.
These are our inherent biases.
This is human beings are like this only. Nothing will change.
In spite of that, in a country like India, today when we talk about a right-wing thought or a left-of-the-center thought,
Yes.
Is there really a need for conflict between the two?
See, humans like conflict because in conflict I feel powerful. And when I fight, I can become a hero or I become a victim. I like to see other people as villain. So, conflict is part of human life. It is, you know, in Sanskrit there is a very famous phrase called Jivo Jivatsya Jivanam. Living things feed on living things. So, conflict is part of nature also, it is part of culture also, it is always going to be there. See, basically the left wing does not value tradition and says everybody is equal and tries to work with that logic. The right says no, tradition is important, hierarchies are important, diversity is important. So, you know, there is always a conflict between equality and diversity, that everybody is equal and everybody is different. Now, which is the correct answer? Sometimes this becomes very powerful, then equality becomes important. When this becomes important, equality becomes important, then people become homogeneous and diversity is threatened. So, there is always going to be these battles. You know, Brexit happened, they could not handle homogeneity, then they said that no, I want my astitva. So, he broke away from it. So, this will always, in societies this is fairly common.
It's one of the phases.
It is one of the phases, you have to go through it. It is.
My last question to you is, we always see now, even in politics or anywhere, a figure is more important than the thought.
Yes.
Person has become more important than the thought. And even from the mythological perspective, the Ram becomes more important than Ramayana and Arjun becomes more important than Mahabharata. Why does it happen? Again, it's a basic human psychology. And is it a right way of absorbing things?
I think because human beings are lazy and it's easy not to, you know, there is Saguna and Nirguna in Sanskrit. Saguna is measurable and visible. Nirguna is not measurable, not visible. And we are always told that Nirguna is greater than Saguna. Meaning is Nirguna. आप अर्थ को नहीं देख सकते, आप शब्द को देख सकते हो. I can memorize the Bhagavad Gita, but understanding the Bhagavad Gita is a hard work. So, lazy people will memorize the Bhagavad Gita and people who like to work hard will actually understand the meaning. And when you understand the meaning, you realize this conflict and all have no meaning. So, you have to, you know, and 90% of human beings will be lazy. You know, we like being lazy, it is a delightful thing.
Or is it that we like hero worship?
No, it's laziness. Hero worship is laziness. It's easy to put flowers on Gandhi than to practice.
You want somebody else to be the hero.
So, like in Marathi, there's a famous saying, na, Shivaji pan Shejaji.
Yeah.
Not in my house, because I am lazy. I will outsource. We are original outsourcers. कि तुम सोचो, हाँ, तुम शिवाजी बनो, तुम गांधी
तुम hero बनो.
हाँ, हम मूर्ति पूजा करेंगे. So this is, and it's Sanatan. It will never change. Out of 100 people, only one person will get the Amrit of Nirguna. And hopefully you will be one of the 100. But not 99 people won't get it.
It is wrong to expect everybody to understand.
Yes, because you know, everybody has the equal potential, but we are diverse people and it will never happen. Nature will never allow it to happen.
So we need to understand even the imbalances of nature and the inequality and diversity of nature.
So, nature will be diverse and in a diverse world, most people will be lazy and try different tricks and a few will be wise, and hopefully there will be enough critical mass of wise people to create a happy society.
And most importantly, it is better to embrace these things rather than fight with them.
In India, we have always accepted. That's why we have been a land of diversity. We understand there is going to be hierarchy, there is going to be conflict. This is Sanatan. Ram also can be born, but he has to suffer bad family life, war, suffering, no control. God also has no control in his life. Krishna has to witness his family dying in front of his eyes. So, that's life.
Pleasure talking to you.